This CBD-infused cream provides targeted comfort with a zesty, refreshing scent. Find your relief today at ktapothecary.com.
This is the chairman and the artist, where vision meets creation. Let's talk. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Rafael. What's the date again? May 30th, 28, May 28. God damn, did I have it wrong on the last one? Yeah, May 28, 2025, reporting to you live from Reno, Nevada, the biggest little city. The chairman and the artist, and Vaca's over there, just so you guys know. He's going to be doing Mr. Computer, looking up anything. We have a special guest today. I just met him the other day. The cool thing, I got to tattoo this guy on Labor Day. No, not
Memorial
Labor Day.
Day.
Memorial. Fuck, I always hate those two fucking Memorial Day. Let me move this guy a little bit this way just so I could. Yeah, that's good. On Memorial Day, and I got to do a cool tattoo on homie because the kind of work that he does relates to the Memorial Day. Yeah. And he's also in the military. I'm going to introduce you guys Mr. Josh Schaffer. I just met him, but he's going to tell you more about his life stories and stuff because nice to meet you, homie.
Yeah, and thanks for the tattoo, man.
I'm glad you like it. So tell me where you're from and where were you born or?
Yeah, no, so I was born in Denver, Colorado, year 1990, so I'm a little bit older than I look because I still look like a prepubescent boy. But yeah, no, born in Denver, Colorado, grew up there, spent 25 years there, grew up playing all the sports, track, cross country, hockey, went to high school, graduated. I was originally going to the Air Force Academy, but homie liked to party a little too much in high school. So I ended up going to went to CU Boulder, which was number 10 on the party school list at that point in time. So that contributed.
So go to that college if you like alcohol, party, drugs, and rock and roll. We're going to give props to that college.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Make sure we get enough funding for it.
Yeah, and I like to think I contributed. I like to think I contributed to that. So went to school there, worked full time, worked my way through, and then after that, graduated, took the victory lap one more time. So I did 5 years in college because, again, like to party.
So you didn't do it because you failed. You're like, I need to go back to that party life.
Yeah, it was just like, hey, let's do one more year just for shits and giggles.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
cool.
So after that, graduated college, kind of got into like that little slump in life after college, as like most people do, figure out where I wanted to go. End up picking up a job at Orange Theory Fitness, working the front door, hitting on old moms.
So you went to college to study what? And you ended up working with weights?
So I studied psychology. Back it up. I originally went in as pre-med. Okay. That was the goal. I wanted to be a doctor. Like I was going to do all of this. Took a class, changed my life. And then I actually failed. So I did fail. So I definitely did fail. I failed organic chemistry.
Too much alcohol. Yeah. Too much partying, but it leads to failure.
Yeah, exactly. Came out on top somehow though. So failed organic chemistry and anatomy lab. And then after that, again, kind of complicated. It wasn't necessarily a major, but either way, they called me and said like, hey, your GPA is below the threshold, so you're out of it. So I was kind of sitting down like, well, I'm paying my way through school. Like, what do I do? So I kind of just chose the quickest, fastest way out of college, and all my credits transferred over to psychology. So I was like, and psychology is interesting. So I was like, I'll just do psychology. Also, a lot of single girls in psychology.
Oh, I can understand. Crazy ones too.
Yeah, exactly. You know, the crazy hot matrix.
Yeah, the ones that want to do psychiatry.
Yeah.
Have to battle with these girls. Let's see how much you can get into my head.
Definitely did the crazy hot matrix. And then, but either way, I was also paying my way through school too. Mom and dad just said like, hey, no matter what, you're paying way through school. However you figure it out, you figure it out. So I just chose the quickest, easiest way out of school at that point. Took psychology, graduated. And then afterwards, like, now what? And then so I ended up picking a job at Orange Theory Fitness, just working as a front desk clerk. And lo and behold, I kind of just felt like this calling. I saw like American Sniper, and I always had dreams of going into the military. Like when I was younger, was going to go to the Air Force Academy, like wrote this letter. I decided I didn't want to go through like that like strict lifestyle. I wanted to like go through and like be like lenient with it. But then even freshman year of college, I was about to join ROTC. I was about to join the ROTC. My resident advisor, Greg, He was ROTC for the Air Force, and I was like super close to doing it, but I didn't want to wake up at like 5 a.m. and like do PT. So I was like, that's
It's gonna interfere with my party.
There we go. Yeah.
How the fuck? How the fuck do you even land these jobs?
Yeah, I was just,
After my party.
I was literally just like, you mean I have to give up Friday nights? No, I wasn't gonna give up Friday nights. So yeah, so by like, I don't know, I kind of felt like it was just a little bit different than everyone. And slowly but surely, I saw like the movie American Sniper, and like Chris Kyle's story really moved me. I just remember like snuck up onto my parents' roof one night and was just staring at the stars and was like, why are you scared? Like, just do it. And like, long story short, don't be a little bitch. So I like, I sat on it for like probably about 30 days, just to make sure emotions weren't a hold of me. And then lo and behold, I walked in the recruiter office one day and said like, I want to be a Navy SEAL. Walked in the recruiter office, said that. And the guy's like looking at me, he's like trying to explain. I already knew the whole process. I was like, here's my story.
I saw G.I. Jane.
Yeah, exactly.
I know that
Shaved my
bitch
head.
can make it. I can make it.
Yeah.
I
So-
just need to drop the alcohol.
So I said, yeah, like I want to be a Navy SEAL. So I went through the initial screening process through that. So the initial screening process gets a little convoluted, but you got to do a physical screening test before you go in. You got to do a psychological test too.
Which you went to school for that one?
Yeah, exactly.
See, it paid off.
Yeah. So the physical screening test wasn't a problem. I've always been in shape. So it's a 500-yard swim, which you're familiar with.
Yeah, but no, we crossed through the wire. I was a little baby. I could swim. You know what? My brother has a swimming story. He swam like 300 yards to save his life on the last podcast. But yeah, I am a swimmer.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And then it's max pull-ups. And then you do 2 minutes of max push-ups, and 2 minutes of max sit-ups, all finished up with a 1.5-mile run, and you do that within like 45 minutes of each other. So it's just like go, go, go.
Fuck, we did it in 35 to cross the border.
Yeah.
And we had fucking helicopters above us.
Yeah, you could have passed. You could have passed.
We did. That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
Just nobody was there to take our record and say, hey, you know, it's like, you passed, Vato, now go get your McDonald's job. You know?
So I passed that. You had to do, it's called auto qual. So you hit below certain scores, like you had to get below 1030 on the swim and the runs. You had to be 80 plus on the push-ups and the sit-ups. And you had to be 10 plus on the pull-ups. And you got auto qual, because otherwise you went into like a lottery system and they had to, like, you randomly got chosen. But if you hit these auto qual scores, like you're sure set, it just depended on when the orders got cut.
It's almost like getting a gold star.
Yeah.
He gets the gold star. He gets just
Pretty much, exactly. And then you have to do what's called your C-sort, which I can't remember what it stands for, but it's a psychological assessment. So you go into this room and you answer some insane questions like, what do you do if you find $20 at the ATM? Like
Correct.
yeah, exactly.
Correct. He knows how to get rid of the money real quick on candies, stripper clubs, you know, but go ahead.
Yeah. So, but they'll ask you insane questions like that. Like, if you see an old lady trying to cross the street, like, what do you do? There's no traffic around. Like, they give you all these crazy questions. And they measure it on a 4 scale. And you had to be 3 or above to go to SEAL. I ended up hitting a 2.5. So they're like, hey, you can't do SEAL, but you can do this thing called SWIC. So have you seen the movie Active Valor?
I think I believe so.
Okay,
So I'll check it out.
so-
Active Valor, check it out on the list.
Yeah, so Active Valor, real Navy SEALs played in there. I've met a couple of them. Real Navy SEALs, real life. The acting's horrible, but either way, there's a scene in there where they're in South America and these boats come flaring up, and they just have these huge guns and they're just unloading on these people. And that's what's called SWIC. So SWIC is Special Warfare Combatant Craft Crewmen.
Oh,
And
you're
it's-
even getting into something more fun than
Yeah,
this.
exactly. So you're pretty much honestly like the SEALs Uber. Like they put in their app, they're like, hey, pick us up here at this time, and you show up and be like,
Well,
is that
guess
Bob?
what, SEALs? You guys can't do this shit without them.
Yeah. So, but the training was super similar. Like you followed pretty much the exact same pipeline through and through. So I was like, yeah, I'll do SWIC. And SWIC honestly kind of appealed to me a little bit more. Just for some reason, just appealed to me a little bit more. So I said, like, wheels up, let's go. So I trained for probably about like 7 months, like honestly 3 times a day. Woke up, swam, went to work, took my lunch break, ran, got back the evening time, would go out, lift, do another insane workout, something again, and just repeat that for 6 days with 1 day off. So I just trained. Eventually, I got my orders cut, shipped out the day before, like 2 days before Thanksgiving. Went to boot camp, and I don't know, boot camp. I have stories on. Like, it's just stupid. It's like you want.
When it comes to taking orders from us and stuff, you probably adjusted really well.
Yeah, I mean, like that wasn't a hard part. Was to adjust orders. I'm actually like a pretty decent rule follower, despite my college mentality. The rules, like, it wasn't that hard. Boot camp, honestly, is not that hard.
It's not like that they showed on what is a Full Metal Jacket. Where
Oh no, that's
yelling
yeah.
at you the whole fucking time.
I mean, like, there's like yelling.
Cut it out! I fucking got a hangover, motherfuckers.
Yeah, there definitely is like yelling in there, but it wasn't as intense as you thought it was. To be honest, you got really good at laundry.
Okay.
Like, you got really good at laundry. Like, you learned how to fold clothes. Like that.
Well, that's the first thing they want to teach you, how to be neat.
Yeah.
I mean, to be a Mr. Military, you got to have that neatness, that discipline.
Yep, and it all corresponds to life, right? Like how you if you can follow the simple rules of folding your clothes, right? That's going to teach you to follow instructions later on. Because when you start handling your weapons and munitions, there's very specific procedures you have to go through. When you're entering and exiting the helicopter, there's procedures, right? So like something as simple as like folding a shirt, like, seems ridiculous, but it actually goes a long way.
But it's a base of developing that attitude and developing, like, check all your shit because you.
Yeah.
I just shot Roger.
Yeah, exactly. Poor Roger.
You know, follow protocol. Which one was it that I was supposed to?
And by the way, Roger's mom, sorry about that. It was an accident. I didn't fold my shirt right.
Well, we're just making up names. So there's a Roger out there that laughs at life without making fun of Roger.
Yeah.
I just use names, you know.
So yeah, but boot camp. So since I was in a special operations division, they send you what's called an 800 division. I think they've gotten rid of that now, but you're kind of separated from the rest of them. So you have, in the military, you have special operations, you have conventional. In conventionals, like your infantry, your admin, your cooks, your tattoo artists, if you will. Right.
There's a lot of them that come out of there.
Yeah.
There's always somebody in there that knows how to make a machine, and he's got all these victims.
Oh yeah, trust me.
Tattoo.
My roommate got into that too. He was also in a witch trap too, but that's later on down the road. So yeah, either way, they didn't really need, like, we were all physically fit. Like, we passed higher standards than most people had to do to get in. So the drill instructors were very much like, you guys like to work out. We don't want you guys to work out. So the worst punishment we would get was standing at attention, staring at a white wall for 3 hours.
Man, so they do the reverse. They know.
Yeah. So I got fat in boot. I got skinny fat in boot camp. I was looking like Rihanna right now. I was like, I got the little pregnant belly. Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, we got out of shape. Like, it was, we'd have to wake up. We would do these thing called dive motivations in the morning. So that's where a SEAL and SWIC instructors or special operations would wake us up at 4 a.m. We'd go to the pool at like 5, and we'd do like a little in-depth workout, just like a little teaser. And we would do that, but like, it was also stupid early in the morning. Like, this sucks. But like, we got out of shape. The rest of them, when they come into boot camp, they're like, oh, I'm in the best shape of my life. We got fat.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, we got super fat. But either way, graduate boot camp, and you're like, oh, hoorah, hoo-yah, all this Navy pride, right? And you're just like, show up in your dress uniform. You got to do the whole marching thing. There's a lot of marching.
Yeah, making sure you follow protocol, again, I guess.
Yeah, and it sets that base, right? But like, to be honest, in the special operations community, you're a little bit more like, screw the tactics. Like, you want to get to the part, like, we'll follow instructions, but if you don't agree with it, and you kind of have to have that wild cowboy side to it.
Is there a point where you're like, I just want to go out and kill? When are we going to go out and kill?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
You kind of decide when are we going to go into action?
Yeah, you're just kind of like, when do we get to the good stuff? Because like, inevitably there is this like big training cycle. For the SEALs, it's called BUDS, right? There's many movies about it. You watch the intro to Lone Survivor, Act of Valor, like, those are all Navy SEALs. Like, you can go watch on YouTube the series of Class 2, 3, 4. And that's really what your like Mount Everest is at that point in time. And obviously there's more beyond that, but your Mount Everest for that time is like, I want to get BUDS. And you're ready. And you spent 7 months, for me, 7 months training, 6 days a week, that you're ready to get to this. You're like, boot camp is literally just the obstacle. So either way, you go, you graduate. Most people get their orders, they go off wherever. We literally moved right across the street in Great Lakes, Illinois. And Great Lakes, Illinois, you can skip that off your list. Like, it's fine.
We're going to skip that off that list, okay?
Yeah, no one needs to go to Great Lakes. But yeah, so either way, you go to what's called pre-BUDS. So the EOD, Navy divers, rescue swimmers, they all ship off to somewhere else, but SWIC and SEAL candidates, they all stick together. They all go across the street to pre-buds, and that's honestly where you start the training. And honestly, like, you're a professional athlete at that point. You like do your in-doc. The only thing, you're a little bit different. Everyone, you're wearing fatigues around the base. Everyone's wearing their standard Navy uniforms. You're wearing like these Vietnam fatigues. You start shaving your head every week. Every week you had to shave your head with a one. You had to get a fresh haircut. But you're also like a professional athlete, and they really cater to you there. You have like Olympic swimming coaches that are coaching you on swimming. You have professional strength coaches that have coached in the NFL, that have coached in MLB, training you in the weight room. So you're actually getting back. And that's where you actually felt like you got back into shape. So that's when you started getting back. And some of the workouts were a little bit grueling, but that concept wasn't to break you down. That was just to train you up, because the next phase after that's where they're going to break you down. So that's about 8 weeks long. You ship out. We all go down to Coronado because SEAL and SWIC are hand in hand. They literally go to the exact same base and do pretty much the exact same timeline. A couple differences in the training, but like realistically the same.
Probably also communications. You guys get to know how to communicate.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you build class camaraderie. And then so you finally get down to Coronado. Great place to be loved there, minus the beatings that came shortly afterwards. But you go to what's called.
They're allowed to beat your ass?
Oh, well, I mean, not like how you think beating. Beatings is form of like push-ups, flutter kicks, like go out and tread in the water for 2 hours. Like there's a lot they can do, and you're just like, okay, here we go. So you go to what's called Buds orientation, and that's 3 weeks long. And they start giving you the intro of what the expectation is. And honestly, it's like screaming out the gates. There was no orientation. It's like, hi guys, welcome to Buds. It's like, hey, you POS, get in line, start going. And everywhere on base, you have to run. There is no walking.
Oh, fucker, I'm not deaf. Could you just talk to me normal?
Yeah.
It seems like they want to yell at you for everything.
Ironically enough, they didn't really yell that much. It was very calm. It was like a disappointed dad talk. It was really like a disappointed dad talk. What are you doing? Huh? You're doing that. Well, I know what you're doing. Oh, I got a story. So I'll get there. So either way, you go to Bud's orientation 3 weeks. And that's where you start to get like inoculated to some of the stuff. You'll start doing your surf tortures. I guess they don't call it torture anymore, but that's what they know. So you literally walk out into the ocean, hand in hand, and they tell you just take a seat and you just let the ocean ride you in. And the Pacific Ocean, super cold. They leave you in there for about 40 minutes, depending on like the time of year. Anywhere from 30 to 90 minutes, you just sit there and you just endure. Yeah, like, dude, yeah, you just endure. Like, and then you have the waves rushing over you, right? And you'll go back in. Once the waves rush you in, they'll have you stand up, put your hands above your head. It's like you're getting arrested. You're familiar with that?
I bet. I just got arrested.
Lamingra, hands up.
I know about that too.
So, but yeah, they'll do a med check and they say like, all right, turn around, link arms, march back out there again.
Well, they'll tell us to spray our cheeks, but that's they don't tell you to spray your cheeks, but
yeah. So, but they'll have you face the other way, so the water rushes into your nose. They'll have it crash over you. But then you have like log PT that was for the SEAL candidates, but the SWIC candidates, we all had Hauser line PT. So it's like it's literally all these lines wound together, and it probably weighs about 100, 150 pounds. And you have your boat crew, which is about 6 people, and they'll have you up and over the head, down over, push-ups. They'll have you like hold 6 inches above, do bench press with it. You'll do like flutter kicks holding it straight out. Just whatever you can think of, they'll do. So I got through the 3 weeks of that. The one ironic thing, so then we finally get to day 1, and that's where you class up. And so day 1 is your uniform inspection, your barracks inspection. It's just every inspection. There you go. So the night before, I stayed up at like 2, 3 a.m. There's a wise piece of advice I got that I totally ignored. Never put more hours into your uniform or into an inspection than hours you think you're going to get beat. So if you think afterwards what the beating is going to be like 4 hours, don't put more than 4 hours in, because no matter what, you're designed to fail. You are 100% designed to fail. So I remember they gave us this whole instructor list, but I was putting so much into my barracks, my uniform. And sure enough, we march out to the grinder and sitting there, and they say like, here's all the instructors. And it's literally a quick introduction. And all I could remember is some guy, I can't remember, is just Instructor Justice. And when the instructor comes up, you're supposed to say like, good morning, Instructor so-and-so, Seaman Schaffer reporting for duty. And they're like, all right, attention. And they give you the orders. And I was like, I was trying to go down that line. And I was like, I just got to remember one. Just give me one. And I remember this guy was Instructor Justice. That's all I remember. Honestly, don't even know if his name. I might have been making it up. But I was like, just one, just give me one. It's like, I just hope that guy's the one that comes to inspect me. Because if you can't get the instructor's name right, automatic fail. So sure enough, you're locked eyes, 1,000-yard stare, and you're not even looking around. And I see this guy come up to me, like out of my peripherals, and he's like, those are good boots. Good boots, huh? I was like, hoo-yah. Because you don't say yes or whatever. It's hoo-yah or negative. That's it. Oh, so I just say hoo-yah, and he's like, uniform looks all right too. He's like, why don't you do an about face for me? And I do the about face, and he like lifts up my back. He's like, you missed a belt loop. That's neat. And he's like, also, did you even greet me? And I'm like, He's like, what's my name? And I'm like, Instructor Justice. And he's like, one more guess. Now I haven't looked at the guy yet. And I'm like, I'm just thinking of all the common names. And he's finally Instructor Smith. He's like, dude, you're a piece of shit. Get out of here. So he's like, you fail. And so he's like, bear crawl around the corner. And around the corner, you can hear sirens going off. You hear the hose. You hear the counts going off. It's a little bit of chaos. And as soon as you round that corner, it is just pure chaos. There's a guy with a hose spraying you right in the face. You're bear crawling. You're getting in the line to do the push-ups or the flutter kicks or whatever they're doing. And they're going down like, you guys can't even pass a simple uniform inspection. How are you guys expected to be part of the elite of the elite? Just going on down. So either way, you fail there. Then they're like, all right, everyone report back to their barracks for the barracks inspection. So we run back to the barracks, and I'm sitting there with my two other roommates, and we get in there, and luckily I wasn't the highest ranking guy. It was MA2 Schaus was his name. So he has to do the introduction. I'm like, oh, there's Instructor Justice. I finally found him. He's like, good morning, Instructor Justice. Like, man, I hope that was. So they go in and they inspect his bed first, literally just scrap everything. Like beds flown everywhere. You have your dive knife on there. They throw that out the hall. Another instructor goes through and opens the fridge, and he sees a gallon of milk in there. And he's like, you had certain things that you could only have in your fridge. Gallon of milk was on that list.
It reminds me of prison when they go, check your cell. They just fucking move your shit there. I haven't been in prison, but it reminds me of it. I went to jail in that prison.
It's literally the same thing. And so he had this gallon of milk, and he's like, are you allowed to have milk in here? And we're like, oh, hoo-yah. And he's like, are you allowed to have expired milk in here? And we're like, I assume I didn't drink milk, so don't drink milk. So I was like, I'm assuming, like, yes, because it's milk, right? It's on the authorized checklist. And he's like, well, I don't like milk. And he literally just opens up and pours it on the floor. The floor I just spent 3 hours scrubbing the night before, just dumps it out, and there's just a pile of milk right there. Luckily, I was like $5 wasted, right? I was just like, thank God it wasn't me. So that, and they're like, who does that believe in? That belonged to the other guy, Cinda Walden. So Cinda Walden goes out and they tell him to go to the grinder, just like they told Charleston. I'm the last one in the room. And Instructor Vickers, the only guy I got right. He starts looking through my stuff. He's like, oh, this is all pretty good. And he's like going through, and you could have your personal items on one side and your military items on the other. And I went to CU Boulder, right? So I had a CU shirt in there. And he like sees that. He's like, did you go to CU Boulder? I'm like, hoo-yah. And he's like, I fucking hate buffs. I hate Colorado. And he's like, do you know where I went to school? He's like, I'm going to take a guess. You went to Nebraska. And sure enough, because Nebraska and CU are rivals, and he's like, yeah, so you. And just like went down this, he's like, you fail. So he drops me down. I'm doing push-ups, and he's literally, meanwhile, just taking out all my uniforms, throwing it on me. I'm in the lean and rest, knocking out push-ups. Literally throws everything out. He's like, if one thing falls, you're going to pay the price. You're going to go to the grinder. And so I'm just holding everything, like walked out. Everything's on my back. I'm just trying to do my best to hold it there. And all of a sudden, like, just one thing falls, and they pull out my dive knife, and they're like, you see that speck? Do you see this speck? And I was like, I do now, like literally like laser vision, like one small speck. They're like, you fail. So either way.
Fuck, your knife wasn't clean either?
Yeah, apparently not. Like they found the one little speck on it. And I remember I was up till 3 a.m. like polishing that off. Like, and just like,
I guess they also try to create good criminals. Like, make sure you clean your knife after you kill the motherfucker. We don't want DNA because we practice that as criminals.
Yeah. I get rid of it. So we run out to the beach. And I remember actually I was thinking like, okay, this isn't that bad. I'll be fine. And we go out to the beach. And I remember like this was the moment I was preparing for because I knew when we went out to the beach, it was just going to be the beat down session. And sure enough, it was the beat down session. We kind of did a mile layer of 7 layers of hell, which is where you're running on the beach. And each point, what they do is they pick up the pace. and people slowly fall off. And if you don't meet that, you fall back and you get beat again. And I remember I was like, I'm a runner. I am not going to fail this. I will stay with that instructor no matter how hard it takes. That bit me in the ass because I was the last one to complete everything. I stayed with the instructor the entire time. They're like, you're a pretty fast runner, huh? And I was like, I don't know what the right answer is here. If I say yes, I think I run more. If I say no, they're going to be like, you doubting yourself. I was like, there's no right answer to this. And I just say like, oh yeah. And he's like, cool, we're going to see how you do in the water later today. So sure enough, they tell us to go get wet and sandy. They send us out to the beach, and there's a berm that's like right there. And so they have us start doing bear crawls up it and crab walks up it. You're just like in total pain and misery.
Is there any sharks or fish that we should be concerned about?
There's sharks. We definitely did 2 mile open ocean swim.
Is there a shark that comes up and saying?
Oh, I wish.
I have some white meat today.
We had one darkie.
Okay.
We call him Token. He's the only black guy that can swim. That's what we joke about. They called him Token. But yeah, so I remember there's this whole series like called Surviving the Cut, and they had Swick in there. And I remember this instructor, he was in there, and he's like, has his megaphone, and just called me. He's like, what are you doing? Whatever this guy's name was. And he goes back up to the top. He's like, you're doing it again. Sends him back down. He goes up like, what are you doing? Doing it again. And I was like, just envisioning this moment. And I was like, man, this guy kind of looks familiar from this as he's like screaming at me. And sure enough, we're doing these crab walks up the berm. My hamstrings are burning. I'm dragging my ass across the sand. And he's like, starts saying like, what are you doing, Schaffer? What are you doing? He just repeats it all the way till I get to the top. And I was like, here we go. He's like, I know what you're doing, Schaffer. You're doing it again. And sure enough, we go back down to the bottom. We repeat this evolution probably about like 5 or 6 times. And he finally gets to the top. He's like, Schaffer, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm doing it again. He's like, well, I was going to tell you to stop, but like, if you want to, by all means, we'll do it again. Well played, buddy. But yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's like, if I answer wrong, this fucking don't happen.
Yeah, I was like, so like, he gets to the top, and eventually, like, what are you doing? Is like, I hope not again. He's like, oh, so you're wise, huh? Go get wet and sandy. I didn't have to do it again though. It was a lose-lose. It was truly like a lose-lose. But yeah, so that's just kind of like a glimpse of the training that you go through. Later on that day, we did buddy tows. Buddy tows is where there's a person about 30 yards out in the water. You have to go swim. You're going to do about 30 to 60 seconds of underwater wrestling with them. You're going to tow them back. It's a good skill for you to have.
Yeah.
And I think it's about the distance.
We saved a lot of people. You'd be surprised. We have Mexican rescue on that river. We call them immigration. We use a couple of them to, secure the. They're saving carmen now. Send all the other stuff the other way. Oh, you should be surprised what kind of tricks we got.
Oh yeah,
when they think they can keep that border safe. No.
Yeah.
My cousins and brothers are still coming over.
Yeah. We're still getting it done. But either way, this is evolution. And you have to tow them back, and they're wearing a full kit. They have like boots, armor, the whole 9 yards. Yeah. So I remember like you look at the water before you enter, you're sizing up the instructor, and I was like, I got the skinny guy, right? Like, so he's only got an extra like 30 pounds. Easy days. Get him done. Easy days. You go to the next line, you cycle back, and like literally they just get bigger and bigger as they go down. I swear, the last one, I just got the fattest guy out there. Like this guy probably weighed about 215 pounds. Now with his gear on, he probably weighs about 260. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm tired. And I was just struggling. And eventually, like, if you let go of them, if they feel insecure, what they do is called gator roll you. So the instructor will flip in the water, grab you, and drag you down to the bottom of the pool. And your first instinct is to be like, go for the top. And so I tried to go for the top, and he like just dragged. It's like Jaws. Like literally every time I reached up, it's just like back down. I was like, oh, and I'm running out of air. And so finally, let's go. And they get the air, and they're like, get back down there, get him. And like I started to say the words I can't. And that led up a whole other thing. So they pulled me out of the water. I started freaking out. They did good cop, bad cop on me. And one guy's like, hey, I get it. But like, if you ever say the words I can't, like that's a failure to perform. So you're gone. And then the next guy's like, you're a POS. Get the fuck back in there. And I'm like, oh, all right, like I'll do it. So finally I get back in there, do it again. The let's off. And that was the end of the day.
These guys have like
regulators? No.
They're just down there also like, hey, look.
They're all the thing is their heart rate's super low. You've been working out, you've been swimming, and you do the 36. Like you're swimming out there, your heart rate gets jacked up, and then they're just in there calm as a cucumber. They got fins on, they're just hanging out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but either way, the next day we go out and we're doing our initial test out. we go to do the initial test out, and I remember standing in line, and I started to have like this breakdown moment. So the instructors that saw me, they're like, "Oh, you're not going to pass today, are you?" You know who the instructor is right behind you, and you're facing the opposite way. They're like, "It's the same one you failed on yesterday. How are you going to handle it?" And I just broke down. And eventually they're saying, like, "Are you going to do this today?" I said, "I can't." No. What'd you just say to us? And I was like, I can't. And
Mexicans, we don't use that. We do not use I can't. We use I can't. Whatever
Yeah.
we say. Yeah, we
Yo
can.
puedo.
We can do it, vato. That's what we're Mexicans. We can.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So either way, that led to me like dropping on request. So I quit that day. It was instantly. It's so insane. Like once you quit, the light switches with them. They're your nicest friends. As soon as you say the words drop on request, they're like, "Oh, hey, dude, like it's all right. Not a big deal."
No more dicks.
Yeah,
no
like
more
no,
shit.
like no. Meanwhile, you see your classmates just getting belittled, and just like it's that. But it's like so crazy that they flip the switch.
So their
just
shit
like
is to try and get you to quit. Their
Yeah.
shit is like,
Yeah.
we gotta make make sure this motherfucker doesn't make it.
Yeah,
Or if he
and
does make it, then he deserves it.
yeah, exactly. And it's definitely a badge of honor when you get through it, right? Which is why you give those guys mad props. Any special forces, like they passed the mental games. They endured. They persevered. So that led me to like my night. Like I broke down super hard. Called my mom crying like I failed because I set my for a year I set my goal on this and just broke
Not
down.
only that, all the abuse that you took in the past is all it comes down to.
Yeah, it just comes down to feeling not being good enough, right? Like it just comes down to that feeling of not being good enough. You set your goal out and you just failed. And you failed because you quit. It wasn't because some external force told you like you couldn't or said like no. It's like you chose to quit. I remember I looked back in the water. It wasn't the fat instructor. It was the skinny instructor I had before. I would have been lined up. I should have passed. So either way, that led me to my whole next thing. So when you get dropped, they kick you off across the street. You're like the plague. It's like COVID. Like they
Get away from us.
Yeah, exactly.
You disappoint me. Don't even talk to them about
Yeah, no, seriously, that's what it's like. They don't want the other class because you're a plague. They don't want the quitting rubbing off on other people.
You're exercise right away.
Yeah, you're gone. So you have 3 hours to pack up all your stuff, get in a van, and they ship you across base. And then you go to the 4 stars. Like you're in San Diego, they give you this nice barracks room. You're like sitting there
like I should have quit.
Yeah, you're like, this is what it's like over here. And you have 6 weeks of just hanging out with your buddies. You go clean some stuff during the day, and then like they let you off by like noon. You're like, this is the easiest schedule ever. I went to the gym. I was hanging out. I was like, this isn't so bad after
The
all.
whole time you're still getting paid the same.
Yeah. You're getting paid the same. Like it's just like you go get beat on the other side, like literally across the bay. Hell, paradise. There's a lot of cute girls. Let me tell you, there's a lot more cute girls on the paradise side too.
So you made the right decision. It wasn't a bad decision. It was a right decision.
But that day I quit though, I ended up losing a buddy. Yeah, so Derek Lovelace was his name. We weren't like extremely close, but like we were close enough. We were like next to each other in the boat cruise. And the evolution that this is the story I got told. The story like changes. I wasn't there, so I'm not gonna try to say anything. But long story short, they're doing one of their treading events, and they start picking up stuff, passing it around, and the instructors in the water, they're like pushing you under and stuff like that. And eventually they caught around to him. He was struggling. They moved the item on, and they just pushed him down. He just never came back up. And that was like the one thing that kind of stuck out to me was they always said they'll bring you back, and this time they didn't bring you back. Because I drowned 3 times in training. I drowned straight up 3 times. And it's crazy because my mom would have dreams about it, premonition dreams.
Shit is deadly.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, so I lost a buddy there. That was
you lost a buddy. Like I'm disgusted with you. Don't even talk to me.
Oh no, yeah, he
passed away.
Yeah, Derek Lovelace's name.
I was
like
the other one.
6 months into my Navy career, I lost somebody, and like that's when it set in. So we all went over to his funeral on the other side. It was just crazy to see. Like he didn't even quit. Like he was just willing to die for the cause, and they just gave his mom the flag, and that was it. Like it was just wild.
Damn.
So like yeah, and that's the thing. You kind of realize, it's just another day in the life, right? Like you kind of realize the stuff that we did was insane. And they had a saying, like I remember in pre-butts, we do more by like you guys are doing more by noon than anyone has done in their lifetime. Because by 4 o'clock we were doing jumping jacks, push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, whatever you wanted to do. We ran 10 miles already at that point in the morning. We swam 2 miles, and you're just doing more. Like I think the average total for like push-ups and buds is somewhere like around the 250,000 range. Like for your first phase, you're going to be doing about 250,000 push-ups.
Damn.
and you're going to swim somewhere in the ballpark of like 40 miles. You're going to run somewhere in the ballpark of, 500 miles like total. You're wearing them in these crappy boots. So like you're running in sand. So yeah, it's a different world out there. And like the thing that the TV shows won't get is like the savagery behind it. Like people are pissing and shitting themselves left and right. It's just truly animalistic. They tell you
Sure,
like,
my guy would be hurt in the first 3
Yeah.
hours. Vato,
yeah.
where's that bell? I'm fucking
Yeah.
done with this shit. I don't
So
like that puto anyway. He keeps yelling at
yeah,
me.
because I straight up pissed myself during an inspection. I had to piss, and like I had to go so bad, and finally the instructor walks to me. He's like, "Please hold it." Just like I just hold it just a little bit longer, and I can wander into the ocean or whatever. And then sure enough, I was just that one little dribble came out, and then the rest came out right behind it. And the instructor just like looks at me, and it's like this embarrassing moment. I'm just like,
Yeah,
sorry.
fuck you told me to hold it more.
And the thing is, your boots are blousing, your pants are blousing your boots. It just goes right in. You literally just went right in my boot, and you're running around. You just feel the slosh. Like, oh, that's my piss. That's my piss. That was super comfortable. But yeah, so either way, after you get out of like a holding period, they give you a job. They say you get to choose a job afterwards, but you really don't. I scored pretty high on my ASVAB, so I was thinking I was going to get these bell of the litter jobs. And I had what's called RP, religious programmer, so you help the chaplain out. IT, which is computer. Matrix, Neo stuff.
Yeah.
They had BM, which is boats and mate. Boats and mate, the only thing I was intrigued about them, they had a river reading unit, but very few people get in. But most of the time, you're 100% going to a boat, and you're just going to be working deck, and you're just going to be doing hard labor. And then you have undesignated. And undesignated is the worst job in the Navy. And I was like, I do not want that job. I do not want that.
What is that one?
So undesignated, like the best way to say it is, I think I was telling you this when you're getting my tattoo. It's like open option in college. They say you get to like go around, like the Navy does this great job of pitching this program. You don't know which one to do in the Navy? That's totally fine. Just go undesignated. We'll let you learn the job. You'll go in, you'll you'll work with different departments and stuff like that. Oh no, you go straight to deck department and you are the bottom of the barrel. You're the one chipping the paint. You're the one scraping the paint. You're cleaning out the toilets. You're like at the bottom of the barrel. And sure enough, I remember I put my preferences down. So I went IT, RP. I originally put boats and mate on there. But I was like, if I do boats and mate, I got to do that for 4 years. If I do undez, I know it's the same thing, but I only have to do that for 1 year, and then I can choose a different job after that. So I'll just choose that. And they tell you, if you put undez on your wish list sheet, you got to choose where you go. So they give you all the duty stations. I'm like, oh sweet, I can try and stay West Coast, and I can try and go on a carrier. So I chose like Washington, California, and Hawaii. I was like, I should get one of those.
It's gonna be a great fucking vacation.
Yeah. Sure enough, send me to Norfolk, Virginia, or as I like to say, Norfolk, Virginia.
Norfolk, Virginia, on the other side of the East Coast.
Yeah, you're right, Virginia Beach, and it is
a nice place. Or what?
I mean, it wasn't the worst place I've ever been, but it was. Did not want to go there.
So you were. Was that an area that you've been to before, the East Coast?
No. So I've been to Virginia before, and ironically enough, I took my dad to a concert in Norfolk, Virginia, and I remember as we're driving back to the airport, I was like, Dad, this isn't such a bad place to live. Oh no, like I should have never spoken those words because I got sent there and I was like, this place sucks. Like it was bad. I mean, I just wasn't an East Coast kind of guy. Like their whole is based around the water. I love the mountains. Like it was far away from my family and my friends. Like it's not a super small city, but it's kind of like it's a little bit smaller than Reno.
Okay.
But you have to always get a connecting flight in, and it was just pain. So show up, check into the USS Winston S. Churchill, a small destroyer. And I'm like, here we go. And I remember the first couple of days, I was like, this is brutal. We're out and we're doing your kind of work. We're out in the 90-degree heat, 100-degree heat, painting.
Well, we got the right skin for it.
Yeah, I
got the proper skin.
I was trying to get close, but
you guys get sunburned.
Yeah, we do. But yeah, so I was on there for 2.5 years. I was super, super, super lucky that I had a really good leadership chain. They kind of said like, hey, they knew I was a special warfare drop. So they kind of brought me in the wing. They're like, hey, like, we know this is challenging. So if you need extra help, like we 100% get you. So like, just let us know. So I just do what I knew how to do best. Just work hard, showed up every day, showed up on time. Because believe it or not, a lot of people in the military failed to show up on time. And I look like a rock star by just showing up on time.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, it blows your mind. But it was a lot of painting. I got really good. So if you need, any exterior white.
We do spray paint. Homie.
Yeah, well.
We do spray paint. We're painters that way, you know?
Oh, yeah, we had a good brush. I got really good with the brush.
You were doing the brush on, wax off, Daniel son.
Yeah, exactly. Wax on, wax off. Yeah, so I eventually kind of worked my way up. Like within 2 months, they said hey, do you want to run the paint locker? The paint locker is just all the place where the paint gets stored. And when the BM1 that was there, she was like, this either makes or breaks you. And I was like, that seems weird because you're just running
paint.
Yeah,
is that all high?
Just yeah. So maybe that's what she's talking about. But when I got in there, it was just a huge mess, and I cleaned it up, and I started doing an inventory, which was revolutionary to them. No one kept an inventory on this. Blew their mind. And they're like, oh, dude, this guy's top notch. I was like, this is basic math. I got three paint cans. I go through about 2 paint cans a week. So we probably need to order an additional 2 cans every week to make sure we always have a reserve. But yeah, so either way I got that, and lo and behold, they sent me to rescue swimmer school. So it's there's 2 rescue swimmer schools in the Navy. There's aviation, there's surface. I was on the boat, so I went to surface, but it's pretty much the same program. I know some aviation guys, they'll say oh no, it's different, but it's close to the same thing. So went through rescue swimmer school down in Jacksonville, Florida. That was 4 weeks, and that was a true vacation. That was great. Loved it.
No problem with the gators there?
Oh yeah, no problems with the gators, none of that. Honestly, it wasn't that crazy hard. I didn't think so. Granted, hard's subjective, right? Life is subjective, pain's subjective. So when we were getting our beatings, I just realized I've been through 10 times worse. This is nothing.
This is where you start hanging out with Mr. Helicopter.
Oh no, so we're getting there. We're getting there. So this is all on the boat side. But yeah, so I went through there, came back, got my designation as a surface rescue swimmer, and then I essentially spent the next from there it was 2 years. Yeah, when I got my designation. So the next 2 years on the boat is the primary rescue swimmer. And we kind of talked about that feeling of being alone in the ocean. So there was one time, anytime a rib, the rigid inflatable boat, little small thing, the little dinghy goes in the water, a rescue swimmer has to be on it. And that was great because I was the primary one. So I always raise my hand, I'll go on this, because it got me off the boat because the boat's miserable.
So you're at least I'll go challenge the charge.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck this, all these fuckers over here.
Exactly. And plus too, the sleeping quarters in the boat suck.
They're probably a tiny bunk.
So you're probably about yay high, right? So you have 3 racks, looking at this paint thing right here. Probably about 6 to 7 feet total, up in height. And you have 3 racks that are staged in there. One's at the bare bottom, 6 inches off the ground. And then you have maybe 8 inches of space to your next one. And then you go up to the next one, the top one, you have maybe about another 8 inches, and that's you at the top.
You're sleeping there
seriously. Yeah, no,
you get in there and that's it.
Yeah, it was rough. It was super rough. The great news is I got the top rack. So the top rack, all you had was the ceiling space ahead of you. Because you just hear in the middle of the night, someone hit their head.
Welcome to Graffiti City, your one-stop shop for graffiti supplies. From spray paint to markers, caps, and merch, we've got it all. Let's get creative. GraffitiCityNV.com.
Tired of tattoo chairs that squeak, wobble, and feel like you're tattooing on a folding lawn chair from 1982? Say goodbye to imported paint and hello to the Chariot Tattoo Chair, the only throne fit for an artist and their canvas. Crafted right here in the good old US of A, the Chariot Tattoo Chair is more American than a bald eagle riding a Harley through a fireworks show. No tariffs, no shipping delays, just pure economic freedom. We're talking lumbar support that'll cradle your client's spine like it owes them money, armrests that adjust faster than your last relationship, and a 360-degree swivel that'll have you spinning like a DJ at a block party. Stop torturing your back and your client's dignity. Upgrade to the Chariot Tattoo Chair, because your art deserves better than a glorified bar stool. The Chariot Tattoo Chair. Sit proud, ink loud.
Oh, nice. Hacked it. Yeah, but I told you this too. The other thing, in you have there are 2 sets of racks placed next to each other with maybe a razor thin piece of metal between, and you could hear the other guy would move and shift you, and you're all right. You could literally feel people jerking off beneath you.
Stop it! I don't want to green pie today.
You're like, dude, what's on the what are you watching tonight? What are you watching tonight? And the other crazy thing about the boat too is there's a massive horn drive that goes around. This thing is like a brick. It's literally like one of these pillows. Like it is a brick, and it is filled with it's Pornhub. It's digital Pornhub. Like without the internet, because you don't have any internet on the boat, so you have to download all this stuff. So there's this massive drive that would just go around, and you see like all the porn. The great news was there's a lot of movies though too. So like this massive drive would just make its way around, and people would download movies off that. So I have like a million movies that are just like
Yeah, if you don't have porn on the ship, you're gonna have a lot of blue balls.
Oh yeah, well I mean that's it. Well, it's not gay if it's underway, right? So,
Yeah,
because like you get there's a lot of times because you're just floating out in the middle of the ocean. We would go out to sea, and my mom would come back. She's like, "Where'd you guys go?" Nowhere, just to the ocean.
just drop.
We literally just flip in circles.
Never really landed.
Yeah, no, we never went to an island. We just sat there. You go out for 30 days and just see water for 30 days. And you're like, you look to your left, water, look to your right, water, look in front of you, water, and you see like, hey, homie, what you doing?
You guys ever like stopping like in the ocean, just completely stop?
Yeah.
I wonder if that's kind of like, dude, we have power. It's not like sailboats. Like back in I watching the Black Sails, and some of these guys will get stuck in the no wind on
you get stuck in the doldrums,
the mercy of the weather, and then wait until the wind.
Yeah,
you guys at least have power. Right?
Yeah.
Like, no, we're gonna stop right here.
Yeah, we'd stop and just hang out, like, and you're like, we can't even put fishing poles in the water. We're just like, oh, we're just sitting here.
And that fucking when you go out on the deck, that shit is all metal, so it's gotta be.
So the deck actually has like a little bit of a texture to it. It's got like a little bit of a I'm trying to remember the word, but it's like a turf almost.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a very like concrete. It's very concrete, but it's like outlined in metal. But yeah, that heats up too because it just soaks in the sun, just radiates. So you're just like, dude, this is just miserable.
It's not like you guys out there playing basketball. Can you do any sports on the boat? Or
no, not really. I mean, there's a gym, but the gym on the destroyer is like maybe the size of this garage, and it services 300 people. So you have to like pick your gym times, and it's just dumbbells, like, and the destroyer rocks a lot more. So I've been on both the destroyer and the carrier, and the destroyer like rocks a lot more. So like you can't really like squat, deadlift, or whatever, like because you're going to be way off balance. So it's just like literally a bro sesh. You just got, as you can tell, I really bulked up.
Yeah, you just do little tiny things.
Yeah. So, but like no, there's like no really like sports. Once you get to the carrier, it's a little bit different. But on the destroyer, it's like there's not enough. Like it's just too small because space is a premium on there.
And those fucking the carriers, they always have those little destroyers around them.
Yep. So you always get
like the little fast ships that can go.
Yep. The idea is the destroyer will take the torpedo for the carrier. The carrier is the mission. The carrier carries everything valuable. So if there's a torpedo in the water, destroyer,
go block it.
Yeah, exactly. Go take it for us. Go take it for us. Yeah. It's like you're friends with the ugly fat girl. The destroyer's getting the one with the fat girl. Yeah, that's like
that is kind of fucked up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But it was cool. I had a really good chain of command. I got to do the rescue stuff, but I really I literally would volunteer for every rescue mission. I don't care what it was. If it means I got to go on that boat, small little rib, and get off the boat, I was in it. And there was like one day we had to do a passenger transfer from one ship to another. And I remember like we talked about the power of the sea, right? Just sitting in the middle. And we're going down, and it looks like from the boat, and the destroyer's small, but like from that point, you're like, oh, that's maybe about like 5 foot swells. We're fine. But you get in there and you start to go down to the bottom and you see a crest, and you're like, that's now 15 feet high.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
it doesn't even look like the ocean is that rough.
Yeah,
really rough.
But when you're in it, like it looks like massive. You like see the waves like 2 times as tall as you, and you're just like, oof.
And you're trying to get on this other motherfucker.
Yeah, and yeah. So it was. I mean, we had some dicey stuff. Nothing like too crazy on there. The show was pretty like mundane for me. I didn't get anything too crazy. We did go across the seas over to Europe and so forth, so I got to like go hang out over there for a little bit. So I wouldn't call that my deployment. We were gone for like 3 months, and we just did like pretty much just a bunch of training missions. But at the end of that like deployment, if you will, I was up for my next set of orders. So I got my job list, and I remember I was in there looking at like HM, which is corpsman, hospital corpsman, medical, and then mastered arms, which is military police. And I was sitting there, I was like, man, I really don't want to do the medical, because in search and rescue, you had to know like some basic, like some advanced first aid, and I hated that part. I love the rescuing part, but I hated
the fact that you have to go in there and
do
all this protocol.
Yeah, it was super confusing to me. And I remember I called to my mentor and I was like, hey, like, which one do you choose? Because like MA, I could go to like a K9 unit and I could get attached to an explosives unit. There's like a couple ways to go. The 90% chance that I was just going to be at a gate checking IDs. And I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life.
You could have checked my ID when I crossed the border.
I could be like, hey, Robin, what's up? Come on through, bud.
That's how we know that.
Yeah, there you go.
That's gonna be a shitty job.
Yeah.
Take it.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I didn't want to be that. And like, plus two MPs suck, like they do. But I called my mentor and he's like, dude, hospital corpsman's a bitch and gig. He's like, you can go SARC, which is going with the Marines on recon. You can go dive med tech, and he's like, you can go SAR as well. And I was like, SAR, search and rescue. And I was like, yeah, like I love search and rescue. I loved all the training that we did. Didn't actually do anything, but I loved all the training.
Well, you were really trained for even all of that.
Yeah.
That helps you.
So fast forward it up. I ended up choosing the corpsman route, and I am trying to go to the recon side. So I was trying to go with the Marines, trying to get back into some dangerous stuff again. And I had to go down to Camp Lejeune for a 14-day screener, aka just a beat session. Like go down there and see if you physically got. And if you go through that screener and you pass, they'll recommend you for selection. And then you go through another like beating phase and so forth. So I went down to Lejeune, met the guys, hung out. It was like pretty low key actually, but wake up at 4 a.m, go do a 3-mile run, push up, pull up, sit ups, all that. And then you go to the pool later on. You got to do the drown proofing. And drown proofing is where your feet are tied together and your hands are tied behind your back. And you got to do like underwater acrobatics. Like you got to bob for 2 minutes. You got a dead man float. You got to swim 100 yards with that. And then you got to come back and you got to bob again. And there's a mask at the bottom. You got to go grab your mask and keep it in your mouth as you bob. It's a whole lot of things. Either way, I always sucked at getting the mask. The mask was like the worst part. Because I couldn't, like, every time I breathe out coming up to the top of the bob and try to inhale, I'd spit the mask out. So I spent like 30 minutes trying to get this mask.
You can't use your hands.
Yeah, you can't use your hands. Got to use your teeth. You know, just like a good blowjob.
Yeah, man. They teach you how to grab things with your mouth.
Yeah, exactly. So they brought me in for like a 5-hour interview. Afterwards, they kind of just like, they break you down in that interview. They go through your whole childhood to see what it was. And the guy pretty much just at the end says like, dude, you don't want this bad enough. Like, you're a good guy, but you're not SARC material. And that was it. They said, thank you for your time. Appreciate you coming down here. Oh, I almost got ran over by a tank. That's the story from there.
Oh, that's fucked up.
Yeah, we were down there.
On purpose, or they?
Oh no, so
okay,
because Marines are
get rid of this fucker.
Marines
take run over. Again.
Yeah, so Marines are stupid. So we were out on the tank trails doing like PT. We had to do this litter carry, and they'd stop us every so often. We'd have to do a beating. And I remember we were doing like the 6-inch hold over what's called Rescue Randy. It's just this big dummy, and you're holding your feet up above 6 inches above them. And all of a sudden you hear doing this like loud like click, 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 click. And you're like, the instructor's like, do you guys hear that? We're like, yeah. They're like, what is that? Like, this trail's supposed to be closed today. And we're literally at a right angle corner. And so we're sitting there doing it. He's like, all right, keep going. And it starts getting louder. And then all of a sudden you hear like this, and like we all just like rolled out, and this tank comes spinning through. And I'm telling you, I was maybe like that far from the tank treads. Maybe that far from the tank treads. And
who had the wrong day? You guys or the tank guys?
The tank guys had a bad day after that, because the instructor like comes up to him and pulls a gun out. He's like, what are you guys doing? What? Like, this trail's closed. And the guy's like, well, we needed a trail to practice on today. And he's like, are you, like, you guys, like, it so lights up on this guy's like, who's your commanding officer? Yada, yada, yada. He's like, you nearly just killed these guys. And also I was like, dude, if you would have killed me, that would have ended the pain. That would have been all right. That would have been a good story. How'd you go? Got ran over by a tank.
Yeah,
but then you could just put on my tombstone, tank.
You survived getting run over by a tank.
Yeah, so either way, I had my orders already cut out for the Corps school, so I go down to San Antonio, Texas. And then I remember learning about this whole search and rescue thing, but like no one knew it existed. So finally I get down to Corps school, and I go through, I like talk to the special operations guys. I'm like, I'll probably end up going dive med tech, even though I'm just done with the water at this point. I really just don't want to do it anymore. Like, I'm more of a dry land human being. And they're like, well, we got search and rescue, we got dive. I was like, oh, you got search and rescue, tell me more. And they're like, yeah, you fly in the back of helicopters, you're the flight medic in the back. You can go here and do this. You can do those the units and do that. And I was like, dude, sign me up. So I did my screening for it. There's like a couple stories in Corps school. Like, I punched a kid in Corps school.
A kid or another adult? Because that's
Um,
child abuse.
yeah.
Please tell me this fucker
He's
was in
acting
the
like a child.
military
He was
too.
certainly acting like a child.
Okay, it's acting like a child because he's not an abuser. We're not gonna, you made it all of this, and the next thing you know, I was slapping a kid.
I don't even remember. I blacked out. I was because he was delaying me from getting to lunch, and like, let me tell you, lunch is a primo. Like, there's three things you don't mess with in the military: free time, your free time, your lunch time, and then your pay.
And then your
Those
lunch, is it decent? Is it better than
Oh no,
prison
lunch is
food?
trash. I mean, like on the boat, like you're getting prison food. Like it literally is like
Oh,
slop.
fuck.
It's slop. And I went vegetarian for a while on the boat because I was just like, I can't eat this meat anymore.
It's like,
And
I
that's
don't
what he
even
said.
know if it's meat. Maybe they're, you guys are doing the old school shit. We're taking some of the guys that died.
Yeah, like it was, yeah. So, but like you start like it was like we were all running late for lunch. I was like hungry, and this kid was like talking in line. They're like, "Why is someone talking?" I was like, "Dude, shut the fuck up." And he's like, "Who are you to tell me?" I just lost it. I was like, boom, blow through the ranks, punch the kid. The good news is like everyone had a different story, so I never got in trouble. But I 100% remember like
You
throwing a
can get in
fist.
trouble for punching another dumbass.
Yeah,
That's fucked up.
I thought I was gonna
I
go
thought
back.
they were training you to kill and be a fucking ass motherfuckers. I thought, look, man, I can show you. I put this motherfucker in check.
Yeah, so either way, got through my screening there, went out to Pensacola, Florida, did my air crew school out there. The cool thing about there is they have this thing called the Helo Dunker. And the Helo is a mock-up of a helicopter. And they essentially dunk it in this pool, lights off, flip you upside down, and you got to get out. You just got to find your way out. And you got to do that like 6 times successfully.
Kind of know your...
Yeah, you have to know your egress routes. They call it like underwater Disneyland. And honestly, that was super fun. I loved every ounce of it. I'm also a sick psychopath.
So even though it's black, can you see a little bit? Or
a little bit. There's like lights going on and stuff like that too. Yeah, no hands tied. As soon as you flip, like you just like kind of make your way out, and you kind of like know your routes. But you have to sit in every chair and like make your way out. So that was super fun. I went over to Flight Med. That's where you start getting your initial training. So you start running through all your ACLS, so advanced cardiac life support, your trauma, and you start running lanes on patients and so forth. You start doing your multi-patient scenarios. They got mock-ups of helicopters in there, not actual ones, but like you bring them into the helicopter, start configuring your space. And then after that, you go to AVT school. AVT school is essentially just flight physicals, pecker checkers, turn your head cough.
Damn.
Yeah, so
I had that done, but in a different way.
Yeah.
I had to play sports, so they sexually harass you when you got to play sports.
Yeah, so either way, got through that. And I mean, you probably spent about a year and a half in Pensacola, which was great. Honestly, like I had a beachside hotel, pretty much my barracks room, went through like 3 hurricanes down there. It was great. Like I loved it. It was like the best year and a half. I was like, the military is paying me for this. So, but then after that, you get your orders to SEER school. And I gotta be careful about how much I say about SEER school, but SEER school is essentially a mock-up simulation of your prisoner of war. So you're gonna go out into the woods. You're gonna have to evade like the enemy, right? And you're definitely gonna get captured, and they're gonna like run you through some like I want to say interrogation techniques. That's the best
make sure
way to
you're not a fucking squealer.
Yeah, make sure you're like
right.
And they refer to it like it's almost like a vaccine. Not that this happens, but if you do catch the virus, if you do get caught behind enemy lines, like you at least have like the taxes of what they're gonna do to you. So I went up to Maine for that one, and that was super cool. You go through a week of like lectures, and you pretty much spend 10 days out in the wilderness. And honestly, it was like camping with the boys. The only thing I was missing was a log of Copenhagen and some beers. Like it was great. You learn how to like catch rabbits. You learn how to like live off the wildlife, what you can eat, what you can't eat, how to make a lean-to out of just all these supplies that you got. What your military supplies come in. How to escape from restraints. I know that's like the little secret part, so I won't say what restraints, but like
we're not gonna talk about that because that's old.
Yeah, even though it's super simple, and you can go YouTube this stuff. It's super simple, but the Navy, for some reason, the military wants to make a bigger deal of it. So for my sake, I'll just say no. But then you go out into the woods, and they teach you how to survive out there. They teach you how to build lean-to. And I was in Maine, like right around May, so it's like just coming to that transition season. So there's like snow, but yet there's no snow. It's like warm during the day, but cold at night. So it's actually really good training for me. But inevitably you go out to the woods. Then you start hearing the gunfire. You got to start evading all these people.
Is that the bad neighborhood you move into?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you got to get out of there. So you got to do like some basic land navigation, run through it. And inevitably there's these guys that come at the end. You got to go through your last little like scenario with like encountering locals. And you're like, oh, well, this is the night, because they say like, hey, we'll come get you some food. We'll get you a rabbit. So you learn how to kill a rabbit properly, skin it, and you eat. That's like the last time you'll eat. Like we didn't eat probably for about 5 days. The rabbit comes, you're like, we ate, and we're like, oh, well, we know what's coming. This is your last meal. It was rabbit stew with nothing but some water, potatoes, and
Really delicious.
yeah, and you're on rations too, because you got to share with 10 other dudes. You're like, one rabbit feeds 10 dudes.
Any bugs you have to eat or anything?
Yeah, I mean, you could like if you saw ants, you could nibble on them. Great thing about rabbits though, you can suck out their eyeballs and eat them. Good source of vitamin A.
Oh, okay.
I definitely did that. I because I was just hungry. I was just like, give me
or raw.
raw.
Okay, you can
So,
eat rabbit.
Yeah, you can do raw rabbit eyes. Good source of vitamin A. Sounds crazy, but yeah. But then they inevitably capture you. There's no way to get out of it. There's a tracker on you somewhere. You go through several situations. I mean, this happened to me, and I don't know if it happened by purpose, but I got pistol whipped. So like you got pistol whipped in there. You put in a box. You get some other stuff done to you. Like I think probably not much I can tiptoe around that. If you watch the movie Zero Dark 30 in the beginning, all the stuff they did to that guy in the beginning of Zero Dark 30, that's what I went through.
Okay, we're gonna watch that movie.
So that's all stopped there, because it's technically a very
we can't talk about it because I don't want the FBI over here talking to Ralph, you know, and
yeah,
we don't want none of those.
Your green card's already on thin ice. So.
Yeah, we don't want, you know, this guy knows too much and we gotta get rid of him.
Yeah. But after that, honestly, love SEER School. People call me sick and sadistic, but I loved it. Like even the parts where you're getting like interrogated, I was like, this is like entertaining to me. You get trapped in a cell all day, and you're like, at least something happens today. If you get pulled out of your cell to get interrogated, you're like, oh, at least something happened, because otherwise you're sitting twiddling your thumbs in this dark cell, just like staring.
Yeah, I know the feeling. I did 3 days in jail, depressed.
Yeah,
trying to figure out my new iPad that they give you.
Yeah, dude. I wish we had an iPad. The iPad was me staring at the floor and hallucinating that it turned into a zoo. I saw Simba. Out there.
The whole time you're on military, are you allowed to have any phones or anything? Or
yeah, so you can have your own personal phone. There's certain areas where you can't bring your phone into. So when I get in my next story of my journey, right? They're called SCIFs, sensitive compartmentalized information facilities, something like that. And you can't bring your phone in there. It's like impermeable to like radar, like nothing, no signals can get in or out of that. You can't have your phone in there.
Which is probably good.
Yeah, like there's certain places where you can bring your phone, there's certain places where you can't. But to be honest, when you're on the boat, you have no service because you're trapped in steel walls, plus you're in the middle of the ocean, so there ain't no cell towers out there.
No Wi-Fi, no nothing.
No Wi-Fi. Well, okay, so now they're getting Wi-Fi. These kids are spoiled now. Back in my day, I had no Wi-Fi. You had internet at hours, so you had internet on the boat and like one computer for 20 people, and you had to cycle through.
And
so I was able to,
half of it is porn on it.
Yeah, exactly. So I got like every 3 days I'd be able to check email, and you have a military email address which you can send to like civilian emails and stuff like that. Unless you have like a SIPR token, then that doesn't go out to them. But yeah, so either way, got through SEER School. Go to my flight school down in Norfolk, Virginia. Yeah, like it was pretty cool, super laid back. You just learn about everything about the helicopter. Your first like 3 months is everything about the helicopter. Then you start flying, you start getting your first couple flights, run you through some stuff. I actually almost got like a huge amount of trouble in flight school.
For what?
Oh, it was stupid. So, I don't care if he sees it. ASW.
I gave out the coordinates.
Oh, I wish it was that. So I was going out for like my SAR 2 flight, and that's where you start operating the rescue place on the helicopter. And I was actually pretty nervous about it because there's a lot of procedures, and they're going to throw these emergency procedures at you. And the guy I was flying with was super by the book. His name was Chong. And good news, he changed my life. He was a POS that day, but like he changed my life for better after that. So I'm out there on the flight, and I'm doing my emergency. Like we're going out there. He like looks over my pre-flight, and I had my visor cover on my flight helmet, and I forgot to take it off. And so we go out to the helo, jump in, and we start to take off. And I go to clear the tail for takeoff. And as soon as we do that, they pull the collective up, and you have this rush of wind, and it blew my visor cover off.
So you almost lost your head.
Yeah, well, I mean, just the visor cover. I was like, I just cleared out the window. I was good. But the visor cover flew off, and that's considered FAW, which is foreign object debris, something like that. It's been a while for this, fallen object debris. And that's a big no-no in aviation. Like FOD is like, you don't do that. So he looks at, as we clear up, he's like, Schaffer, did you see that? I was like, see what? He's like, something flew out the window. And I was like, I don't know. He's like, he looks at me, he's like, wait, did you have a visor cover on? I was like, oh shit. Yeah, I did. I just owned it. He's like, we got to do an emergency set down. So we like emergency set down because they didn't want it to be in the intake or anything like that. So we sat down. He's walking around. He's like, you get out here and you look. And I was like, all right, here we go. Like I failed this. I'm like, all right, I failed this.
Making sure that fucking thing.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, exactly. And so we're crashing. And it just blew off. It blew into the water. It was like gone. But
if he doesn't know where it is, he
yeah,
still think this.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, dude, I failed this flight. Like, I'm like, here we go. I'm gonna have to like go back to the syllabus again. And either way, we go like we determine that's not on the helicopter. We proceed with the flight card as normal, and we go to do the hoist operations. And he hits me with emergency procedure. EP is short, and it was the hoist failure. So you have to go through it. It's the longest one. And I remember I called to the pilots, hey, is the hoist light on? And he's like, grabs me, he's like, what'd you just say? And I was like, is the hoist light on? He's like, is that the emergency procedure? I'm like, yeah, it's step 2. He's like, is that the words in there? And I'm like, is the hoist light on? Like, I don't know what you're saying. Like, I'm asking, is the hoist light on? And he's like, the verbiage is the hoist light illuminated? I was like, you got shit.
It's illuminated, Vato. He didn't know the right words.
Dude, the light on, illuminated. I'm just sitting there like, yeah, he runs me through a couple other things, but eventually he asked me something from the SAR manual, and I said that. And he's like, you just think you're a know-it-all, don't you? And grabs me by like the collar. And he's like, I'm going to put you in your place. And I was like, okay, like I failed this card. We're going back. So anyway, we land. It's nighttime. We land. He goes to do our debrief, and he just essentially says like, so how do you think the card went? It's like, I mean, apparently not great. I think I hit all the wickets. He's like, well, I'm going to pass you. I'm like, it's weird. Like, yeah. Like, that's weird.
All that abuse, he still passes.
Like, but then he was like, so did you lose? Was that your visor cover that was on? It's like, yeah, like, I'm just going to own it. Like, I had, he's like, are you sure? And so I leave the base, and he calls me. He's like, are you positive? I could tell he's trying to give me an out. He's trying to give me this out. I was like, no, I'm just going to own it. He's like, all right, be at the skipper's office tomorrow at 0900. So I'm like, okay. So I text my chain of command, like, hey, I'm not going to be at muster tomorrow. I got to go to the skipper's office. I had to buy the code flop. I'm like, okay, like, best of luck. So I go to the skipper's office. Skipper gives me the disappointed dad talk because literally a little bit, 2 weeks before, they were doing some flights over Virginia or West Virginia, and they lost a helicopter door into someone's backyard.
That's not the one that almost crashed against the fucking the jet, right?
No. But we did lose the helicopter door. It literally flew into this old lady's backyard. like somewhere the pre-flight failed. The guy opens the door and it just goes.
It falls out.
And they're over West Virginia in like a civilized area, and it literally landed in this lady's backyard. And poor Grandma Ethel is saying like, "Oh, what happened?" And we're all like, "Oh, that's not good." So that was a big deal, like losing stuff out of the aircraft. And I was talking to one of the airflight instructors, like, dude, I've lost like 300 pounds of ammunition out of the back of the aircraft, and they didn't find it. Like just in the middle of the ocean. We took a turn, I didn't secure it, there it goes. And it was like no one was like none the wiser for it. So it gives me a disappointed dad talk, but like Chong was his name, tells me to report to someone else and sends me on this like listing of reporting to go get my lickings. So I go around, and so I finally show up to him. He's like, what are you doing here? It's like, you told me to report here. I'm like, you texted me be here like this time after your flight. And he's like, oh, that's right. You're the know-it-all. You're the know-it-all. And so he's like, let's quiz you down the 3 TAC 50 because I'm willing to bet. And like it turns into this huge pissing contest, like whose dick's bigger. And
hopefully yours.
Oh, he was a big boy. I don't know. He might have been hung like Seabiscuit. I don't know. But either way, like he goes, and finally I screwed up somewhere, right? And he's like, see, I told you. So like goes on this whole thing. He's like, I'm kicking you out of this program. I'm like, how do we, like, I was fine. You didn't know why I was here. Now I'm getting kicked out of the program. It led to this huge drama thing. And long story short, I stayed and I passed through. But like I got my square in the end, which comes later. So after I get out of flight school, I get orders to go out to Fallon, Nevada, which is how I ended up here in Reno, right? Yeah. So I was running out with search and rescue out there with the Longhorns. There's a very esteemed squadron out there. At the time, they were running the second most rescues out of the U.S. for the Navy. The only one that tops them was Whidbey Island. Whidbey Island gets a stupid call volume, but I was super stoked to come here. It's closest to home because I'm from Colorado. It's close to the mountains, like Lake Tahoe. I could go snowboarding. I was like super stoked to be here. Checking a fountain, I'm like, what the hell town is this?
Welcome to Fallon.
Yeah,
The end of Highway 50.
Yeah, and I was like, very real. I was like, my mom and I always joke because she lives in a small town in Texas, and she's like, do you have a Walmart? I was like, we have a Walmart. She's like, well, at least you have a Walmart, like that, because in her town they don't have a Walmart.
They used to have a Walmart
Yeah.
Fallon. I used to go fishing all the way out there.
Yeah, Lahan, yeah.
It was a little tiny thing. Really, what brought Walmart, Fallon, when that naval expanded, when they brought the Top Gun situation to Fallon.
Yeah, and that's like the fun fact that no one like people knows. Like Top Gun school is out there. It's not in San Diego, like the movie says. It's all out there. Every single weapon school for aviation, their version of Top Gun is out in Fallon. So for the helicopters, you have Seawolf and Miser. For the Growlers, you have Havoc. For your E2s, which is the planes with the crazy radar domes on top, they have their own weapon school. Is the aviation hub. Fallon is like weirdly
in the middle of fucking desert.
It's super
There's a
weird.
naval base in the middle of a desert.
Yeah,
and it's a little tiny town.
But if you think about it, right, where were we fighting that war at the time? We were fighting in Afghanistan, right? Look at Fallon and tell me it doesn't look like Afghanistan.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. If you see pictures of Afghanistan, you see pictures of Fallon, you're like, this makes sense.
And it's almost like the same weather too.
Yeah, no,
hot in the day, cold as a motherfucker.
You also have a high altitude, right? Afghanistan has a bunch of high altitude. Here you're sitting around like 3/4 of a mile high, so you have to like your power calculations are different. Everything you have to approach aviation different versus if you're at sea level, you have all the power in the world, everything's stagnant, you don't have a lot of variables. So if you come out here, the SEALs got their little thing up there. And the other thing too is Nevada is 70% federal land. So we can literally just drop a bomb anywhere and just like,
that's our. Because I see you guys practicing over there at Pyramid Lake.
Yeah.
Fucking fishing.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they got helicopters. These guys are rebelling and shit. Like, oh, this is federal land. It's part of their land. They can practice whenever.
Yeah. So, but our niche at the Longhorns was like high angle insertion, high angle extraction. So, we would get into canyons, like cliffs, all of that. That was our bread and butter. So
you're saving soldiers, or who you saving?
So search and rescue is there primarily as a military asset, right? So if a jet had to punch out somewhere, we are the first to respond. However, modern aviation doesn't have that many mishaps anymore. I mean, lately we haven't been doing great.
We got AI now.
Well, I mean, lately we've had the helo crash into the jet. We've had a helo fall off a carrier. We got an F-18 that skidded off. Like aviation's not in a good spot right now, but generally speaking, you don't have that many like jets crashing anymore. So as a Navy, part of goodwill and good fortune serving back to the community, we had a skill set that not a lot of civilian assets had, and we flew at night. A lot of civilian assets won't never fly at night. So we'd fly with our night vision goggles, go out there in the middle of the night, cold, it didn't matter. We were willing to do it. So we gave back to the community. That was our way of giving back to the community. So a lot of our calls were primarily civilian based rather than military based, but if we had to choose between the two, we always took the military, but we never had that option. So either way, check in. You gotta go through this. Even though you get Scott qualified, you go through all this stuff. You gotta requalify
again.
Yep, you gotta go through it again. And I remember on my first flight, my SMT1 card. God bless Derek and Danny on this one because they designed. Your first card is like a kick in the dick, literally just straight up a kick in the dick. There's only one. There is a way to pass. So there's one specific way. If you don't choose that way, you fail. So the first card is a medevac, and you go through a medevac procedure. It's a simulated medevac. So you fly out to a place, an ambulance there, it's broke down for my scenario, and there's a patient with a tube in their mouth, so they're intubated. They crashed. They are already being brought back because of like complications with their heart. The ambulance driver broke their leg. It's like literally worst case scenario.
He had too much meth in his system.
And I mean, I could go through the whole medical process, but it doesn't really matter. It was like super simple. The guy was right main stem, which means his tube went too far down because your lung kind of shoot out like this. Like your right lung comes more at a deeper angle, and your left lung shoots out more of a right angle. So if you go too far with an intubation tube, it's called right main stem, and it goes into the lung, and it's only inflating one lung. So the intubation tube should be sitting right about here, getting both lungs. If you go too far, you're only getting one lung, and for someone that potentially has any of that. So you have to, I run through my checks. I'm assuming the intubation tube is good. So I have to needle decompress this guy. It's simulated. So you stick a needle in there.
Okay, it's simulated. It's not a dummy.
Yeah, so we use each other as dummies. So that way you can do like live IVs. And that way you get a feel for the human body.
Okay.
Because the human body is way different. Yeah, way different. So yeah, way different than rubber. So either way, I go out there, guys, right main sim. I tried needle D'ing this guy like simulated like a couple times, and like finally Derek's looking at me, he's like, dude, you needle D'd this guy like 10 times, ain't fixing it. He has a tube in his mouth. What is it? And I was like, oh, right main stem. And I was like, oh, that's stupid. So I finally get back into the debriefing room. We do my debrief, and Derek does this classic thing of where he says like, so buddy, how do you think I did? And I'm overly self-critical, so I go through and I was like, I did this and this wrong. I didn't do great. I'm just like, yeah, didn't do great. And then all of a sudden, everyone from the squadron walks in the room, and they're all listening to your debrief. And it starts with Derek, and he's like, dude, you're not good enough to be here. Long story short, that's what they all say. They go down the line, and it goes all the way up to the commanding officer. And he says, like, if you want to be a part of this elite squadron, you like need to get it up, because this behavior today, these actions that you did, not subpar.
Homie's dead.
Yeah, like you just killed them. I would not trust you with my wife or my children. And that's how he ended it. And everyone just walks out. And you're just sitting there like, you just got berated by 20 people. And you're feeling like the smallest human in the world. And you just go through that whole thing. And like, I was on the verge of tears. And I was like,
can you get a phone call? Can I call my mom at least?
Yeah, no, I was like, I'm like, don't cry, because then you're gonna think you're a little bitch. Like, don't cry. So you hold it together and you get to your barracks room. And Derek calls me later and he's like, dude, just make sure you have a beer tonight. Just know that's all part of the system. That's all he says. And that's why I knew it was like by design. That whole thing, there's one way to go. But you go through your flight cards. And then inevitably, once I got through my SMT flight cards, you have to go through another set of flight cards. And this is where you start doing the rappelling in and out of the helicopter. This is where you wanted to hear about Kobe. So, yeah, because I was there the day Kobe died. So we had to fly out to
this fucker. It's kind of weird that I say something bullshit like that. And you're like, dude, I was right there. I'm like, what the fuck? Did I hit one of the nails?
Yeah, I could explain that whole thing to you. So I had to go down to a training course for rappelling initially, right? You don't get qualified there, but it's down in San Diego. So me and my buddy Danny, we're flying down to San Diego, and civilian airlines, we have all our flight gear on though. It's super weird. But either way, I remember we're kind of flying over LA, and it's super cloudy that day. And we're kind of starting to descend into San Diego. And I remember like looking over like kind of the Hollywood Hills, and you could see the smoke flare up. And I was like, oh, that's super weird. I'm sitting on the right-hand side of the jet. I was like, oh, that's super weird. Like Danny's like, look at all that smoke coming out there. He's like, oh, I wonder what happened. I was like, I wonder if they're having another wildfire again. And so it's like about that time of the year. And finally we land, and I remember like our phones light up. It's like Kobe Bryant dead. And we're like, oh, and then it dawns on me, he's like, dude, Danny, like,
we just passed?
Yeah. So we flew over Kobe Bryant's crash.
That is fucking crazy.
That was,
yeah, you learn. Everybody got their message.
Yeah,
that's so weird that we live in such a crazy world.
Everyone got the
Facebook. Everybody's posting.
Yeah, and everyone knew at that moment, and like everyone finally dawned on everyone in the airplane, like we just flew over Kobe Bryant's crash site. Like the people who sat on the right side of the plane and saw the smoke, they're like, we all. That's
kind of witness something.
Yeah,
that
like
we didn't want to witness.
R.I.P. Kobe, man, Black Mamba forever.
Yeah, fuck.
That was surreal. That was just super surreal. Just like I flew over Kobe Bryant's crash site, and I could explain the whole thing of how he crashed. The pilot was an idiot and ignored air traffic control regulations, and because helicopters, you typically fly what's called VMC, visual meteorological conditions. You have IMC, right, instrument. Jets typically will fly IMC, right, so they're flying by the instruments in front of them. Helicopters typically when you're close to the ground like that, you'll fly off the cusp of your seat, if you will. So you're like looking around. But that pilot was trying to fly VMC when he didn't have the visibility for it, and ended up crashing into that mountain. Wow. The air traffic control said, hey, you switch to IMC. Like, no, I have good visibility. And visibility for VMC, if I remember right, is about half mile. You have unrestricted visibility. But the problem was that the clouds are so thick that he thought he had a half mile, but he didn't. So he ended up flying into the side of the mountain.
He just misjudged the fucking fog, we can say.
Yeah, and that, I mean, it costs a lot of people. Like, there's a lot of helicopter deaths out there just because, like, stupidly small stuff. So it goes back to that folding your laundry again.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
Or also, like, like they say that all these people's lives are your thing. And you're over here, like, if you felt one little thing, and they're like, Oh, man.
Yeah, you know, you're it's back to the basics. So either way, I get through my SMT flight cards. So SMT is what my job title was. Simple term, search and rescue medical technician, but flight medic for short. And we get through that syllabus, and I start working on my rappel syllabus. And I finally got to like the scenario parts. And I remember they started saying like, "Hey, like we have orders coming up for this mission to Afghanistan." And I was like, "Okay." And they're like, "We're gonna send him because he's a newbie, he's qualified, yada yada yada." This guy got COVID during that time, and so he was failing all these tests, respiratory tests, and somehow my name got drawn out of the hat. And I got like 3 days notice. I pretty much got like 3 days notice to like pack up all my stuff, take a quick leave because it was like right at Christmas. So I drove to Colorado to see my dad really quick, drove down to see my mom really quick just for the holidays because I knew I was going to be gone for 9 months, and then flew out to Virginia, back to Virginia again, and deployed on the Dwight D. Eisenhower. So my role on that deployment was the lead COVID medical technician. So any COVID case that we had, I was going to be responsible for.
You come in with your little swabs. Let me check.
Yeah, no, it's seriously that. The deployment was largely uneventful. The only thing that was like eventful is we got extended out to cover the Afghan withdrawal. So I was there when we got
You
out.
got to see that chaos?
So we didn't necessarily see it because I didn't necessarily see a lot of it. I saw some of it because I was stuck on the boat. And the boat's like probably about 15 miles off the coast. We're just doing laps, just back and down.
Bringing in people from.
We didn't even bring in people. It was weird. I'm telling you, it was stupid.
Don't explain it because we're gonna cause chaos. But
it was stupid. But we were there. I was there for that one, and that one I kind of bought into because originally we were going out there. The Dwight D. Eisenhower during COVID pulled the longest deployment without seeing land. So I think they went 207 days without seeing land. Yeah, because if you got into shore, you had to go through the COVID screening. That was honestly the best gift to the United States Navy. Because they're like, you can tell us we can just leave these guys out here and we don't have to like pay to port them in or anything. Sounds great. And so they just got off and they ended up getting double tasked to go back out to the Med and to further Afghanistan one more time. So they had that crew probably had about 4 months between deployments, and they just pulled one of the longest deployments without seeing. I think the USS Stout has the one at 208 days, but they were right behind him at 207. 207, and that's where I say you look to your left, water, look to your right, water, you look in front of you, water. Roger, what's up, dude? How you doing? Comes up, holds you from behind real nice, like, oh, that feels nice. But yeah, so either way, I got out there. I got assigned with a medical crew. I was with an internal medicine doctor, a critical response nurse, or critical care nurse, and we were like the main COVID crew. So we got on there, started developing the COVID protocols for like what needed to happen. So that was like my contribution to the Navy. Is I kind of wrote the initial foundation for COVID care as far as it applied to helicopters. What's the protocols? How are we going to transport? And to be honest, I did all that work. They just had the sniffles. Like COVID was just... I'm not going to launch any conspiracies.
We all know now, but yeah.
I don't want to launch any conspiracies out there because COVID's a thing, but like, legitimately, it's just the flu. It was like that. I did 7 COVID medevacs on that. And literally, I just picked them up from the boat, brought them back to the carrier. They had to get isolated.
But you're not going repelling.
No, this is like ship to ship. I'm landing. But the crazy thing about this was, right, during this COVID thing, like if you got COVID on the boat, you had to be isolated, right? They had to separate you from the crews. Like kind of like back when I dropped, you had to like isolate yourself. So we had to throw them into a berthing, right? But like a ship, you don't have that much room. So essentially like males and females who got COVID got sent to this berthing. They didn't have to work. They got like yard time. It was prison. It was literally prison. They got yard time. They got to go on the flight deck for an hour to get direct sunlight. They had food brought to them. But the crazy thing was they were just fucking like rabbits in there because you had males and females on the boats. So like if you wanted to get laid while you're at sea, just get COVID. That was like people were out there like, dude, you got COVID? My girl's got COVID right now. Like, yeah. So you get all these boat boos out there, and they're like, dude, let me cough in my face. You're like, I'm not coughing in your face.
So did that bring any kids lately?
Oh, I mean,
you got a nursery.
Like, man, you're like, oh, here we go. But yeah, that was the crazy part about it is I remember I dropped food off to him and literally there's a girl bent over the table. I'm just like, you gotta be kidding me. This is what we're going to? Like, this is, how desperate are you? And there's a thing too on the boat. They're called boat goggles. So when you're on land, you see an attractive woman, right? You give her like a 10 scale, and like, oh, she's like a 9, right? But when you're on a boat, inevitably you go without, you see these same females over and over again, and you don't see any other females. So their attractiveness starts to go up, up, and up. So they turn in like,
if it's got legs and it walks
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
wiggles, you're like, damn, that looks good.
yeah. So you like, and so we call it like, she's like, it'd be like she's a land 5 but a boat 10. Like it's like one of those things like, and you have one of your buddies like try and slap you, be like, no, don't do it. We need just to get to land. If you get to land, you're gonna be okay. And they're just,
No wonder you guys will look at the manatees and thought they were mermaids.
yeah, oh dude, it gets bad out there. It does get bad out there. But yeah, so I did like several COVID medevacs. The crazy story I had from that one was I got called. It was 2 a.m. Yeah, because you get your highest call volume at the beginning of deployment because everyone's trying to get off the boat. Everyone's trying to find their way to get off deployment. So you'll have people faking things left and right because they don't want to go on this deployment. And actually, there's 2 crazy stories, but I'll go this one first. But either way, so it was like 2 a.m. at night, and I hear like, hey, like muster the search and rescue medevac team in CIC with the commanding officer, and I'm like, okay. So I throw out my flight gear, go out to the CIC, and I report to medical. I'm getting the turnover, and they're like, the doctor just opens like, Schaffer, when's the last time you intubated somebody? And I was like, I mean, about like honestly, probably about like 3-4 months ago. Like that was the last time I got my practice in. They're like, well, you're going to get practice today. I'm like, all right, so what's going on? So I got the report. The patient was reporting seizures and vomiting, and had a GCS Glasgow coma scale of 3, which means they're dead cold. So I was just like, oh, this is not good. This is gonna be my like worst medical like scenario. Like this is gonna be what's called an angel flight, where the guy dies on your flight, and that's all you're trying to avoid. So I get the crew like within 30 minutes. We're off the deck. We're flying out to this boat. We're flying out to the destroyer. I give out my instructions out to the crew of like who needs to do what. I'm gonna go get turnover from their doctor on the boat. I'm gonna have the rescue swimmers, the crewmen go out and do like the initial assessment on them, and then I'm gonna come back over later. And so I finally get over to the doctor, and he's like, dude, he's flipping out in GCS3. I'm like, get it together, man. Like, get it together. Just give me the information that I need. And so he gives me the information. He's like, GCS3. I'm like, does he have an airway in? And it's like something to keep his airway open, right? And he's like, no. I'm like, what kind of doctor are you? Like, that's like basic rule number 1. So I run over to the guy with my med vac, and I clear out everybody. And there's this like female corpsman that's like, I got it. I was like, no, I'm in charge, bitch. Listen here. Like, and she's like, no. I was like, no, get away from my patient. I'm taking over. So I sternal rub the guy, and nothing. Like, not even flinching. And I do it one more time because I have to drop an airway on this guy. So I rip out this OPA, which is like this hook thing that goes into your mouth, and it keeps your tongue from falling back. So that way, if I have to breathe for you, your tongue doesn't obstruct that. So I drop the OPA into him. And then sure enough, dude, this guy starts like gagging, and he just like starts to like vomit a little bit. So I turn him over on the side, let him vomit out a little bit. And then he's like, whoa, where am I? And I'm like, you're here. I'm like, at the time I have a lot of empathy. I'm like, you're here, dude. My name's Josh.
Breathing, you're okay.
Yeah, like, and like he's like responding. I'm like looking at my vitals. I'm like, dude, this isn't adding up. So I keep him in the litter. We fly him back. There's people waiting in the flight deck station, and turn it over to the surgeon. I'm like, dude, none of this is adding up. He's reported seizures, vomiting, GCS of 3, but like he's now fully conscious. All vitals are intact. He's like, well, let's run lab work on him. Dude, it turns out the guy was just faking it. The guy didn't want to go on deployment. So he forced himself to throw up in the shower because that's where they found him, right? He forced himself to throw up in the shower and was just like actively just like making himself shake. So they brought him up and they thought that. So he ended up not going out. He went to the psych ward. Little loony bin. But then the next one, what was that other story I was going to say? Because like it was pretty uneventful.
Let's do a next one because he also has an appointment.
Okay.
But yeah, let's do another one real quick, and then we're almost done home because he's got an appointment, and I think I'm getting a bunch of texts.
Okay.
But I'm glad that you
we can do part 1, part 2.
Yeah, if you want to come in for part 2, I want to hear all the fucking people you rescue.
Like I said, it's a long story.
But you need all that build up. You need to understand what the fuck you gotta go through to do that shit. Where you just hanging out to fucking chopper later, like there's no problem.
Yeah, so we can absolutely get a part 2 down. You put me on a mic in front of a camera, I'll talk for hours.
Well, I kind of noticed that we most of the camera's going to be on you, but a little bit here and there. But I'm glad you came in and did this.
Yeah. So I mean, I said I got plenty more stories after that. But yeah, we can call it here. I can save that story for another rainy day.
Yeah, if you don't mind, because I'm getting texts. This homie, what time is it?
It's about 6 o'clock right now.
Yeah,
So
he's got a 6:30.
yeah, cool, easy days.
Yeah,
So we'll call it.
Thank you, homie.
Thanks. Yeah.
This is Josh Schaffer. We just had some little stories about his military experience, his life experience. Hopefully, you guys liked it. He does medic rescue out of a chopper. He hangs out, and maybe later you can send me a couple of pictures. So
Yeah,
I can put them
absolutely. Yeah, I can do that.
Stuff and let people know, what it takes. Well, you already let them know what it takes to get there.
Yeah, so I got, like I said, I didn't even get to like the good stuff. I feel like I talked for hours.
No, it's good, homie.
So we call it part 1, part 2.
Part 1, part 2, because we can't do it all at once.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. You guys have a nice one. See you later.